Part 1. CNA Practice Test for Legal and Ethical Behaviors. Question 1. You observe your coworker verbally abusing a resident. What should you do? A. Tell the resident's family. B. Report it to the charge nurse. C. Talk to her after work. D. Do nothing, since words won't hurt the resident. Answer B. Report it to the charge nurse. Explanation. Verbal abuse, also called bullying, is a form of emotional abuse that can be as harmful as physical abuse. It includes yelling, criticism, blaming, insulting, belittling, or threatening. Clients are emotionally vulnerable, and verbal abuse leads to threats and low self-esteem. It must be reported the same as physical abuse. Question 2. When starting a job, when is HIPAA training mandatory? A. Before the facility's accreditation process. B. During initial orientation. C. After the probationary period. D. Prior to being hired. Answer B. During initial orientation. Explanation. All healthcare professionals must be trained in HIPAA regulations before beginning client care. Facilities are responsible for protecting client privacy at every level. Every facility must have proof on HIPAA training records in place for each employee. Question 3. You hear another nurse aide tell a confused resident, "If you don't eat, I'll lock you in your room." You should A. Tell the charge nurse what you have observed. B. Tell the other aides so they can observe this aide with alert residents. C. Tell the aide if she does it again, you will report her. D. Do nothing, since the resident is too confused to understand. Answer A. Tell the charge nurse what you have observed. Explanation. Whether or not a resident seems confused, verbal abuse is inappropriate and must be reported. It is a form of emotional abuse that can be as harmful as physical abuse. It includes yelling, criticism, blaming, insulting, belittling, or threatening. Confused clients can perceive emotional abuse even if they are unable to respond. All abuse must be immediately reported. Question 4. Mr. Joseph overhears the nurse aide speaking to the nurse about his roommate's diagnosis and demands to know more about the roommate's condition. The nurse aide should A. Tell Mr. Joseph that if his roommate wants him to know, the roommate can tell Mr. Joseph. B. Firmly but politely explain she cannot discuss other residents' condition. C. Tell Mr. Joseph it is not his concern. He should only worry about himself. D. Tell Mr. Joseph to ask the roommate's family during the next visit. Answer B. Firmly but politely explain she cannot discuss another resident's condition. Explanation. Absolutely, no medical information can be shared with others without the client's consent. This can even include the client's family, if the client wishes. Remember that client information can only be shared with healthcare workers. Be aware that if information is overheard by anyone other than the healthcare workers involved in the client's direct care, a breach of privacy has occurred. Question 5. A resident's call light. A. May be kept out of the resident's reach so they can rest. B. May be answered when you have time. C. Should be answered as quickly as possible. D. Should only be answered by the nurse aide assigned to that client. Answer C. Should be answered as quickly as possible. Explanation. All clients have a right to have access to their caregivers. For clients who are confined to bed or have limited mobility, their safety could be at stake. A client who needs something might be in distress or try to get out of bed alone. When they use their call light, a quick response is a clinical standard. Question 6. The nurse aide should refuse to perform a task if the A. Nurse aide is at the end of the shift. B. Client is difficult to deal with. C. Nurse aide has not been trained to do it. D. Client has an infectious disease. Answer C. Nurse aide has not been trained to do it. Explanation. You must be trained before doing nursing tasks. It should also be included in your job description so that you are working within the scope of practice for CNA. If asked to do something that you haven't been taught, let the nurse or supervisor know. Once you have been trained, follow all procedures carefully and only as you were instructed. Question 7. If the nurse aide is concerned about client care, who should the nurse aide speak to first? A. The director of nursing. B. The nurse in charge. C. The administrator. D. Another nurse aide. Answer B. The nurse in charge. Explanation. Every healthcare facility has a procedure for handling concerns about client care. If the issue cannot be resolved, it moves to the next level of authority. For example, if a nurse aide observes a situation that could be dangerous or neglectful, the nurse aide should notify the charge nurse. The charge nurse will attempt to resolve the issue before calling the nursing or administrative supervisor. At the top of the chain are the chief medical officer and the hospital administrator. Each level has increasing authority and responsibility to address the situation. Question 8. The client offers a nurse aide a $20 bill as a thank you for all that the nurse aide has done. The nurse aide should A. Ask the nurse in charge what to do. B. Take the money not to offend the client. C. Politely refuse the money. D. Take the money and buy something for the floor. Answer C. Politely refuse the money. Explanation. When a client is grateful for the care they have received, they may wish to acknowledge the nurse aide with a money. The nurse aide's response can be, I'm sorry, but I can't accept. Gifts or money compromise the client-nurse boundary. It can also destroy the trust that clients have in nurses. In some facilities, it can result in disciplinary action. Question 9. After your elderly neighbor falls, he is admitted to a unit. Another neighbor asks you how he's doing. Your best response is A. He broke his hip. Maybe we can organize everyone to bring over dinners after he released. B. I'm not supposed to talk about patients, but since you already know him, I'll tell you. C. I know this is awkward, since we both know him, but now that he's a patient, I can't discuss him. D. You know him. He's a fighter. He'll be home soon, but he's giving the staff a hard time. Answer C. I know this is awkward since we both know him, but now that he's a patient, I can't discuss him. Explanation. It can be tempting to share medical information with others who know the patient, but even general information or conversations about behavior are violations of the HIPAA privacy rule. Be honest and firm about your responsibility as a healthcare professional. Question 10. You don't answer a call light because the patient is always hitting it accidentally. Not responding is considered to be A. Neglect or abuse, B. Unethical, C. Breaking confidentiality, D. False imprisonment. Answer A. Neglect or abuse. Explanation. Abuse and neglect occur when a client does not receive necessary physical or mental care. This includes failure to respond to a call light. Do not assume the client does not need assistance. If a client is accidentally hitting the call light, it is the staff's responsibility to fix the situation. Question 11. You observed a coworker being physically abusive to a resident. You did not report the incident to the nurse supervisor. You can be charged with A. Negligence, B. Aiding and abetting, C. Malpractice, D. False witness. Answer B. Aiding and abetting. Explanation. Aiding and abetting is a legal term that means you have knowledge of a crime even if you won't present. If you do not report it, you are considered to be an accomplice or that you assisted. Always immediate report any type of abuse, neglect, or malpractice to your supervisor. Question 12. You observe your charge nurse holding a resident's nose to get him to take his medications. You should A. Discuss the incident with other CNAs. B. Make an anonymous call to the family. C. Do nothing. She is your supervisor. D. Report the incident immediately to the DON. Answer D. Report the incident immediately to the DON. Explanation. All abuse or suspected abuse must be reported. Every health care facility has a procedure for handling concerns about client care. If the issue cannot be resolved, it moves to the next level of authority. If an incident involves a supervisor, proceed to the next level. In this case, if a nurse aide observes the charge nurse in situation that could be dangerous or neglectful for the client, the nurse aide can go directly to the nursing or administrative supervisor. Question 13. Incident reports are written in order to A. Determine patterns and trends, B. Inform the physician, C. Notify family members, D. Identify who is at fault. Answer A. Determine patterns and trends. Explanation. An incident report is completed to give all the details of an unusual event, such as a patient fall or a staff injury. The investigation following an incident report is not meant to blame anyone, but to find if there is anything that should be changed to prevent future episodes. Incident reports are also started to detect patterns that are unsafe. Question 14. While at work, you receive a call from someone who says he is a client's nephew. He asked about his uncle's condition. However, he is not on the client's list of approved people who can have access to his condition. What should you say? A. He is pretty confused right now. We are able to speak with family members. B. Can I please have your contact information? I'll have someone get back to you. C. I can't confirm or deny if that person is here. You will need to contact another family member. D. There has probably been a mistake with the list. Give me your name and I'll add it. Answer B. Can I please have your contact information? I'll have someone get back to you. Explanation. HIPAA gives patients the right to restrict who can have access to their health information. When someone requests information, only those listed are able to receive information. A hospital or health facility can confirm that the patient is there, but no medical information can be provided. Question 15. Misuse of a resident's money or property by family, friends, or staff is known as A. Financial abuse, B. Chemical restraint, C. Domestic neglect, D. Malpractice. Answer A. Financial abuse. Explanation. Abuse can take several forms, including financial. Elderly and ill people are vulnerable to being exploited by those they rely on. As with other forms of abuse, family members and others who care for the resident are most often responsible. Financial abuse includes taking property or money, forging a signature, changing a will or a deed, and falsely promising care in exchange for property or money. All forms of abuse are illegal and should be reported. Question 16. Forgetting to raise the side rails as ordered causes a resident to fall and be injured. This could be called A. Neglect to keep the resident safe, B. An unreported incident, C. An accidental fall because it wasn't intended, D. A faulty safety standard. Answer A. Neglect to keep the resident safe. Explanation. Neglect is considered mistreatment that results from lack of attention or carelessness. Neglect can be physical, emotional, or financial. Failing to put up a client's side rails is physical neglect because basic safety was disregarded. Question 17. What is the main purpose of continuing education for the nurse aide? A. Facility compliance. B. Review of skills. C. Promotes teamwork. D. Client safety. Answer D. Client safety. Explanation. Learning does not end with certification. New methods and advancements are constantly being discovered. Staying current makes sure that clients are getting the safest care and best treatment. Also, Hospitals and facilities must show training records to maintain accreditation, so continuing education must be current. Question 18. The nurse aide reports directly to the A. Staff development nurse, B. Physician, C. Administrator, D. Licensed nurse. Answer D. Licensed nurse. Explanation. Every staff member has a role in providing excellent client care. Each person can work within the scope of practice or allow others with different authority to handle appropriate tasks. The nurse aide reports to the RN or LVN, who reports to the Director of Nursing. The facilities administrator and medical director may be the people with the most responsibility. A staff development nurse oversees training and education. Question 19. The nurse aide reported bruises on Mr. Jenkins' arm last week. Today, during AM care, there were more bruises. The nurse aide should A. Report the abuse again or call the state's abuse hotline. B. Do nothing, since Mr. Jenkins has not complained. C. Call the police because nothing has been done. D. Ask another nurse aide to report the new bruises. Answer A. Report the abuse again or call the state's abuse hotline. Explanation. Reporting suspected abuse is the mandated responsibility of every healthcare professional. If it continues after reporting or no investigation has taken place, another report must be filed. Every state has a hotline to report suspected or known abuse. Question 20. Once a nurse aide's name is placed on the abuse registry for neglect, they may A. Never be employed as a nurse aide again. B. Petition the state nursing board for reinstatement. C. Continue to work as long as they abuse no one else. D. Work only as a home health aide. Answer B. Petition the state nursing board for reinstatement. Explanation. Each state licensing board has regulations regarding reinstatement after claims of abuse or neglect. If the state allows reinstatement, they will provide information about the process. An attorney may be useful in reviewing the case and helpful dispute or reinstate the license. Question 21. Proper use of a waist restraint requires that the nurse aide A. Monitor for skin irritation. B. Tie restraints to the side rail. C. Apply the restraint tightly to prevent movement. D. Release the restraint every 4 hours. Answer A. Monitor for skin irritation. Explanation. Physical restraints are devices or equipment that prevent normal movement. Examples are waist, arm, or leg restraint, hand mitts, or vest. It is against the law to use restraints unless necessary to treat a client's medical symptoms or if there is a risk of harming self or others. Restraints are not used for punishment, convenience, or method of control. Either a physician's order or the client's consent is required before restraint can be applied. If a restraint is in place, monitor closely for and report signs of injury. Question 22. The nurse aide gave a client the wrong diet. What will the nurse aide do after realizing this error? A. Remove evidence of the error. B. Ask the client to stop eating. C. Report the error immediately to the nurse. D. Blame another nurse aide for the error. Answer C. Report the error immediately to the nurse. Explanation. The very first thing to do after making a mistake is to admit that it happened. All healthcare professionals make mistakes. Common errors happen when the patient's ID is not checked before giving a meal tray, giving care, or passing medications. Never disregard a mistake. Immediately tell a nurse, if asked, to complete an instant report. Provide all details. Question 23. Keeping information confidential about a client is A. Dependent on the situation. B. Somewhat important. C. Applicable only to medical records. D. A legal responsibility. Answer D. A legal responsibility. Explanation. HIPAA Health Insurance Portability and Privacy Act is the federal law that protects a client's privacy about their medical information. This includes documentation, records, and communications. There are severe penalties for sharing information, even if it is unintentional. Question 24. A client with metastatic cancer has a do not resuscitate DNR advance directive. If the client's heart rate begins to slow, what should you do? A. Call a code and initiate CPR. B. Call the family because they can reverse the DNR. C. Ask the client to verify the DNR and document their response. D. Notify the nurse in case supportive measures are in place. Answer D. Notify the nurse in case supportive measures are in place. Explanation. When a client has a DNR in place, it is legal and final. Do not try to change or interfere with the outcome. Notify the nurse in case other measures, such as morphine, are in place. Support and care for a dying client. Question 25. After the end of the shift, some nurse aides go to a restaurant. Acceptable topics of conversation would include A. Their parents. B. The weather. C. Hospital politics. D. Surgical procedures. Answer B. The weather. Explanation. The HIPAA Privacy Act regarding protecting a client's confidential information is clear. Absolutely no information can be shared outside those who need it in order to care for the client. Even a discussion in a hallway or the cafeteria where others can overhear is a violation. Discussing other workplace issues in a public place is rude and inappropriate. This can be disturbing or misunderstood by other restaurants' patrons. Thank you for watching.